it's always like what I call the +1 purchase in a pharmacy. No one will go in and just buy lube.
Right.
No one. People are always like, oh, get a bunch of other things, shampoo,
orange juice.
Get some, yeah, you right there.
Like condoms. Just not gonna go buy condoms.
Yeah, no.
You're gonna throw some other stuff.
No, you
in
throw
with
everything else in, and then you're just like, lube, and then God forbid the lube doesn't scan. Like if it doesn't, like if that code doesn't work. This is What Now with Trevor Noah.
You know what? The more kids you have, the harder the pregnancies become. Because if you got pregnant now and you had to run it after
Well,
your
now I'm
older
58. That'd be pregnant. Like, be hard for that reason.
No, you could.
Is that
Get the
real
kids at
though?
home.
Are you sure that you're 58?
I'm positive.
No, I ask you this. I ask you this because like some people don't know. Like maybe you don't. Like, are you sure?
He's like your biological.
1966, August 14th. I'm 58.
He's like your biological age. That's what he's asking.
Well, my glycan age is 40. I just
Oh,
did that.
that makes, there you go. That's
I just
what I
did
mean.
that. That's my glycan age.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
I don't think some
my
people
metabolic
age
age.
the same way calendars work.
Yeah.
And I think you're one of those people.
Well,
yeah.
Thank you.
If we had to repopulate another planet, I would pick Halle Berry as one of the people.
Of course.
Because I'd go like...
Helen of Troy, basically.
Yeah,
right?
essentially. That's what I would do.
Stop it.
It's so good to have you here, by the way. Thank you so much
so
for joining us.
happy.
This is...
Thank
Can I
you.
tell you, I don't think I've had more fun researching somebody than researching you before this conversation, because half of the things that I found seem like conspiracy theories, but they're true. Because you type Halle Berry, and then all of a sudden, like, the first thing that popped up was Halle Berry intimacy gel. And I was like, oh, wait, no, this is... And I thought it was my search engine. I was like, no. Sorry, wait, this is... No, me. Halle Berry, what is she doing? And then it was like, Halle Berry, herpes. And I was like, whoa, no. I was like, what is happening to my algorithm? And then when I read through everything, I was like, oh, wow, Halle Berry is doing everything right now.
Is she?
I mean, you tell me. Like, it feels like, in the same way that menopause is a moment of transformation for women, it feels like you are in a menopause of life and you're turning something that people would commonly think of as the end into a new beginning.
Well, yeah, that's how I feel. That's exactly how I feel. I am approaching my second act, and I couldn't be more excited. You know, when you find a there, and you connect to what you know is a greater purpose. Like, we always ask ourselves when we're here, but what is my why? Why am I here? What am I meant to do? I figured out what that is. And there's joy, and there's peace, and there's comfort, and there's confidence in that, right? And so that's where I'm at.
And what is that? If you were to distill the purpose down, what is it for Halle Berry?
It is to be a voice for women in midlife, a time of life that we have been so forgotten and so underserved and underappreciated. And I realize that I have been chosen to be a voice, not the voice, but a voice, a loud voice in this space to talk about what it looks like to be in our second act, what it looks like to be in midlife, what does longevity really look like for women, right? Because we're living longer, but we've been in poor health. And why is that?
Yeah.
Right? And why can't we redefine ourselves? And we are here for more than baby making. Yeah. That's a wonderful, glorious thing that we do, but we're here for so much more than that. But the world has told us after we do that, we're done. I'm here to say, no, that's not true. That's not true. And how are we going to live this thing out in our best health?
So, Halle, I'm so curious because this is something me and my friends talk about a lot, that we know, like, all of our mothers went through menopause, but they've never discussed it with us, right?
Like, so they've never said anything to... Is this like an African mother thing? Or?
No, just all of this.
Oh, wow.
All my girlfriends,
mothers.
Black, white. We're always like, we're like, when are, perimenopause? Like, we have lots of questions because we're like, a lot of us are going into perimenopause now, right?
Yeah.
And it's like...
Wait, for those who don't know, what is...
Perimenopause is a period before menopause, which is chaotic and very difficult for women. And you have like memory loss and anxiety And
I think peri is the worst. Once you get in the menopause, like you're kind of on the other side of it. It's the
Wow.
peri is where it's the hardest. I'm still in peri too. And I'm like, man, I got 3 more months and then I'm going to be in the menopause if I don't menstruate. And man, I'm going to be so happy to be in that menopause.
But like most women don't actually know what perimenopause is, right? So it's debilitating. And me and my friends of all backgrounds, we talk about the fact that our mothers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers must have gone through this.
Of course they do.
They haven't given us this guidebook. Do they even have the language
They don't.
for what they went through? And I'm curious how you came to it and were like, I'm going to use this as transformation, because from my perspective and from our friends, it's just something that's shrouded in shame. Like, it's a conversation we still haven't even had with our own mothers.
Yeah.
And you're like out here
Yeah.
really publicly claiming it.
Well, I, like you, didn't know what perimenopause was. Nobody talked to me either. But I did have this feeling that I was going to skip it. I thought I got myself off insulin at an early age. I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and I got off insulin, I got off oral medication, and I found a way with food and using, food as medicine to get off insulin. And I thought, whatever this perimenopause thing is that happens to women around this time, I'm going to skip it. Because look what I did with the diabetes diagnosis. So I'm just going to skip this whole shit. Well, no, I didn't skip that whole shit. I realized that I was in it, and Trevor's heard this, so I'm not going to go into the gruesome details because I think
you should.
No,
you should.
please, you
because
have to.
I indivially have heard it, but I think it's important for everyone to.
No, not
really.
everyone's heard it, and it's important.
No,
to know.
I really think it's very important to hear it, genuinely, because I'll tell you before you even tell it. I'll tell you why I think it's important. So, I think I love what you said about being chosen. My mother always says, sometimes you're not chosen because somebody chooses you. You're chosen because you are the best person in the best position to do something about something. Yes. And that's sometimes what being chosen means.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I think, in a weird way, I feel like in this moment in your life, everything that was put on you, some of it good and some of it even as a burden, has almost become like the chariot that you're going to ride into this thing on. Does that make sense? And so I think the story is very important because nobody is brave enough to tell it, and not many people are interesting enough to tell it, to be honest with you. And I think that's important because I heard this like with a few guys as well, and it was interesting to see guys just be like, oh wow, we got to get into this. We got to like, I don't know how to explain it. I think it was cool to see a story being told in a way that it affects women. Yeah. But men men live with women. Like, you're in our world, you're in our lives.
Sure.
Okay, well, pretend you didn't hear it.
I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear anything.
And do all the oohs and ahs and gasp and all the right moments.
Fully in, girl.
Okay,
we're fully in.
Okay, so how I found out was, I've been divorced 3 times. That's okay. I'm proud of that, right? Having the courage to leave when something's not right. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to do. So I'm not ashamed of that. But I have been divorced 3 times. I finally meet what I thought, and I now know to be my person. And we are firing on all cylinders. We're getting along, and we're having the most amazing sex. I didn't even think it was possible to have something so great at this time in life. I really didn't. After 3 divorces, I kind of thought, I'm kind of done. And I'm cool with that. But I meet this person, and we're just having the best time. All of a sudden, a year into our relationship, we had a great night of sex. I wake up in the morning, and I do what we always do. I go to the bathroom. Well, I think I'm going to go to the bathroom. I sit down on the toilet. I cannot go to the bathroom. My body just sort of seizes up, and I can't go. And I start to let a little bit out, and it's the most excruciating pain I have ever felt. Besides having a cornea scratched, there's nothing more painful.
And
than,
you've given birth without drugs, by the way.
My second baby.
So I think it's important
more
we mention that.
Painful than that.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm like, oh my God. And it takes me literally probably 10 minutes to just empty my bladder because I can't let it out. So I get off the toilet and I go to my guy and I say, look, I got to go to the doctor. Like, something has happened to me and I don't know what it is. And I couldn't even put my legs together. Oh my God. Whatever happened in the night after that sex was bad. So we jump in the car. He drives me to see my doctor. I get in there and my doctor's, got me on the table. He's looking up there and he says, wow, you got a new guy in your life? I said, I do. And I'm like, it's amazing. And he's like, He said, well, I think I know what this is. I know what this is. I've seen this before. And I said, what? He said, it's a really bad case of herpes. Like a really bad case. And I'm like, herpes? I mean, not knocking anyone that has herpes, but I was like, herpes? I'm like, what? Well, how do you know that? He goes, I've seen this before. This is a really bad case of herpes. Now, all these things are going through my mind, like the love of my life, this great man, this great sex, and now he gave me herpes? Like, I thought, wow, he would have told me he had herpes. Like, I thought he should have. He could have. Like, why didn't he? Going through all this stuff. And he goes, I'm going to do the test. In 3 days, you'll get the results back. But I'm sure, I'm pretty sure, Hal, this is herpes. So now I go down in the car. He's in the car waiting for me. I see him. I open the door, and I'm angry, and I'm sad that he didn't tell me, and I'm also mad. And I'm like, so yo, look, so you got herpes? He's like, what? I'm like, you have herpes. He's like, I don't have herpes. I said, clearly you have herpes because I have herpes. And I didn't have herpes before I knew you. And now I have herpes. So you clearly gave me herpes.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God.
And he's like, no, I swear I didn't. I don't think I have herpes. I said, I don't have it. I said, well, let me be the first to tell you, you got herpes. Because I got herpes. I didn't have it before you. So we're driving home in this argument, like who has herpes, and we're arguing
Most
about why.
awkward car ride ever.
Awkward, right?
Yeah.
So we get home and I say to him, look, you're going to have to go to the doctors and you're going to have to get a test too. And you're going to find out you have herpes because now we both have herpes and you gave it to me. Yeah. So he's okay. I'll go to the doctor. I don't feel like I have any herpes. So he goes to the doctor. So we have 72 hours of just blaming each other and not knowing what to do. He gets his test back first. He comes to me, chest poked out. Yeah. Like I said, I don't have herpes. Upright. You have the herpes. And I thought, oh my God. I said, okay, I guess I have the herpes. I said, I'm sorry, I've given you herpes. Like I didn't know. I'm sorry. A few hours later, my doctor calls me. Before he even says anything, I'm ready to say, okay, yeah, I already know I got the herpes. He says, Halle, you don't have herpes. I'm like, I don't? Yeah. I'm like, I don't have herpes, really? He said, no, you don't. I said, well, why would you say that? He said, well, that's what it looked like, but I don't know how to explain this. But no, you do not have herpes. I'm like, well, what is it then? Didn't know. He
didn't know?
No, he didn't know.
Oh.
He said, I don't know. I don't know.
And this is like your primary care doctor had no idea. Okay.
No. And this was the defining moment that set me on this journey. What I went through with my guy for 72 hours, finding out this news the way we did, but nobody could tell me, well, why had this happened to me and what was wrong with me?
Yeah.
And that sent me on my own journey of investigation and reconnaissance and reading. And I came to, after about 2 or 3 weeks of my own individual investigation, that what was happening to me was a symptom that many women suffer from in the perimenopausal years. Now, I'm 54. One of my doctors should have already talked to me about being in perimenopause.
This is wild.
Nobody, and I've got like 6 doctors. Yeah. Not one of them had a conversation. I'm 54 years old about perimenopause.
And not telling you how to prepare for it.
Or that it was even coming.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to skip it because nobody talked to me about something. What's not going to happen to me then?
You hear these stories happening to people, like in all of medicine. So I think, sometimes I think medicine is hard. We acknowledge that. There are many things doctors don't know. A lot of things that doctors can't figure out. And a good doctor will tell you that. They're like, hey, we try our best, but there's oftentimes we don't know. But it's crazy how much more they don't know about women's issues.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
We haven't been studied in the same way men have. We only were allowed to be a part of clinical studies in 1993.
1993? Oh, wow.
Was when they started including women.
I didn't know it was that late.
But the thing is, they know our periods cease at a point. Like, I would accept that, as a reason. Yeah, there's some things you don't know. But this is not unknowable. We know that women, at a certain point, if you live long enough, you'll probably stop menstruating.
Right. Yes.
And the period before that can be difficult. Well, doctors should know that, I guess.
But they didn't prepare you at all.
No one
says, hey, just so you know, you're getting to, like, for instance, okay, so when I turned 40, without fail, my doctor was just like, how old are you? Even when I was like 38, they're like, 38? They're like, soon you're going to need to go and get your prostate checked.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is that? And they're like, they're going to go and do the thing to your bum. And I was like, okay. But every stop I would go to, people would like throw it out. They're like, throw it out. Even like the dentist, it was like, oh, happy birthday, prostate time. Yep. I'm like, okay. So I just knew, genuinely, I just knew. At 40, prostate is now a thing that gets checked. Yes. And you're telling me that.
Wouldn't it be great if doctors told us at 40, okay, perimenopause time. Let me tell you what you got to do to get.
That's crazy.
Wouldn't that be great if they knew enough? But the truth is, only 13% of doctors in our country understand the menopausal body, and it's 1 chapter in medical school. That's why doctors don't know. So I don't sit here even blaming my doctor that didn't know what that was. Not his fault. Not his fault. On an institutional level, we have not been made important. on any level. So it's not their fault. It's only going to become their fault as this conversation gets louder and louder and these doctors don't go back and get retooled. Then I will start blaming them, because when you know better, you do better. Okay. Now, doctors are really starting to understand what they don't know. And menopause used to not be a thing. Nobody ever thought that it was real. It was like, just deal with it. It's just old age. It's just, no, it's not just, it's a real thing. And it affects more than just our lady parts. When we lose our estrogen, the thing that makes us, that makes women, it affects our brain, our heart, our liver, our skin, our bones, our hair, our mood. Everything about us becomes compromised.
Well, the suicide rate goes up for menopausal women.
Yes.
That was something I read.
And we just get put on antidepressants because we're depressed. No, we're not depressed. We're losing that hormone that makes up who we are on a cellular level. And if we don't replace that in some way, we're just going to die slowly. And it's a tragic death because we lose our faculties to think and remember early onset Alzheimer's and dementia. Our bones get so brittle, we fall down, we break them. It's lights out, right? Our heart gets compromised. More women have heart disease and heart attacks at this time of life than men do, right? So it's not just we get what I know I had now was vaginal atrophy. It's not just that. Yeah. That I've learned how to fix. I'm good now. But how do we fix our heart disease? How do we fix our brain? How do we stay virile and active and be able to walk and take care of ourselves? How do we do that without this very thing that makes us us? That's what we have to start studying.
We're going to continue this conversation right after this short break. I'll tell you why I love these conversations, because I've told you something, but so I grew up with my mom, as a single mom for most of our lives, right? And for various reasons, apartheid being one, but just like a single mom. But my mom, I didn't realize how blessed I was, because she shares everything with me. So when she was going through menopause, she would just tell me stuff that was happening to her body. And she'd be like, "Oh, I'm so hot. Hey. She said, "Oh, you must thank God you're not a woman. This thing that's happening to my." Oh, she says, "I'm hot and I'm cold and I'm angry and I'm tired and I'm sleepy and hi, Trevor. No, this. Woo, I don't want it. I don't want it." And then when she was finished, she said, "I feel strong. I feel like a man. I feel like a man." And I was like, "This, I don't know what's happening, but she would
turned into one.
No, so I love these conversations, and I'm in a strange way used to them. Because of just, I guess, how my mom was with me. But I don't know what some of the terms are, and I don't. So, what is vaginal atrophy?
Funny you should say. Vaginal atrophy is what 50% of the women who go through perimenopause actually experience. So
50%?
50%. So it's a real serious part of, I am so not alone in what I've gone through. And it's when the walls of your vagina start to actually atrophy, which means they start to fall apart and sort of disintegrate. You lose your collagen inside your vagina, as we do in our faces, and we start to get wrinkles and your skin gets crepey. That's what's happening inside your vagina. And so the walls get really thin and, crepey. So when you are having sex, those walls are so thin, it cracks. Oh. And that's what the razor blades in the vagina feels like that I experienced, right? And sometimes it happens during sex, but then it can happen after you've had sex. If you were in the moment and you got your groove and you don't feel that it's cracking because those endorphins are kicking off and pleasure is happening. The next morning when you go to the bathroom and you try to urinate, it's when the urine touches the walls of those cracks. Yeah. That's what makes it so painful, right? And that's what vaginal atrophy is.
I'm so curious because women aren't necessarily talking to other women about this and don't have the resources themselves. No. Doctors don't seem to know. Where does a woman go who's perimenopausal or menopausal and is just trying to figure out what is going on and who can help me?
Well, it's funny you should say. Because we have just launched Respin 2.0 and Respin Health. And the whole idea of this company is about creating community. We learned that when people have other people, like-minded people who are struggling with the same issue to talk to, there's strength in that, right? There's strength in community. Talking to other people, you can hold each other accountable, you can brainstorm, you can share stories. Because I've learned, as I've been talking about it, when I talk to other women, they go, they instantly feel better because they can talk about it with someone who understands, who's not afraid to talk about it, who can hold space for their feelings, who know that what they're saying is true and real. They can feel less shame, they can feel not alone, less afraid. That right there is half the battle.
Yeah.
Just getting them to talk about it and feel good talking it, not just talking about it, but feeling empowered by being able to talk about it. So Respin is that place of community, but they can also not just talk about it in like a wild, wild west kind of way. They can talk about it and be guided with doctors and professionals and scientists.
Also, it's connected to healthcare providers as well.
Yes.
Okay.
And people that are on the cutting edge of where we are in menopause, who are doing the latest researches, right? Running the most recent clinical trials and studies, who can tell you why HRT isn't bad for us like we once thought 20 years ago, why that was a debunked study that was
That's hormone replacement therapy.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. And why that study.
So, and that's something I actually wanted to ask you about, because when the older women who do speak about it with me are so terrified of hormone replacement therapy.
Yes, because of that study.
Yeah, and I say, well, the study's been debunked, and you can go on Instagram and see in the comments section, there's big pharma trying to kill us. And
wow.
No, but because it's like breast cancer is a thing that does increase with age, and people are terrified to get breast cancer.
Yes.
So there are women suffering right now who maybe are good candidates for HRT.
Absolutely. And that's why we have to figure out what the truth is about it. And then as women, we have to make those choices for ourselves, not because what you heard or what somebody else is afraid of, but we have to make these decisions based on education for ourselves. Because for me, just me, we have a greater chance of having cancer late in life anyway. So if that's the truth, I want to live my second act feeling great. Not having brain fog, not flooding my laundry room every other week, not raging, not having headaches, not worrying.
Not being at the mercy of your body, it sounds like.
Right. I want to live my best life. And so once I did my own education, I too was afraid of HRT because I'd heard those stories. But once I got into understanding why it was okay for me, I now know I'll be on this till the day I die.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I'm going to die anyway. And I'm going to die feeling good about
Have you
it.
felt a change
We don't know if
since
that's a fact, though.
HRT?
Yes,
we don't know.
I am going to die, Trevor.
We assume you think you'll die.
But I might not.
I mean, you say you're 58. We don't know.
We don't. I don't
might
believe
be
that.
like there might be like a future generation having this conversation. So, Halle, as the first 1,000-year-old person, what do you feel about? Let me ask you a few questions.
Oh God, I better not be here.
From an ignorant perspective, like, for people who are either scared or aren't suitable for hormone replacement therapy, are there other options? Are there non-HRT options?
Yeah, there are other options on the market that women can try that are afraid or who, legit cannot go on hormone replacement. There are those women out there. But that's why I've been in Washington trying to get this bill passed, this menopause bill with $265 million bill, because we need more research. We need more education. We need more therapies developed so that HRT will not be the best solution. Right now, arguably, if you can take it, it is the best solution. But we're working with doctors and with the government to try to come up with other therapies, because not every woman will feel like that's the right choice for her. I get that. And we should have the right to do hormone or do, a non-hormonal remedy. We should have the right to make that choice for ourselves.
The right and the range.
Yes.
I'm curious, like, drinking bone broth, collagen supplements, would that help?
Yes,
as well?
all of that help.
Okay.
I'm on the bone broth, been on that for like 6 years, bone broth, supplements, a good quality collagen though. All collagen is not created equal. But a good collagen, absolutely.
Okay, so from the inside out, you can do some of the work.
Yeah, you can do some of the work. But sometimes I'm finding for the more severe vaginal atrophies, that's like the slow boat from China. Like you might be done having sex before it gets fixed.
Yeah.
So you might have to find another remedy like the VFit or HRT, or vaginal inserts, estradiol vaginal inserts. We're now finding are actually very, very helpful too.
Wow.
So I would understand if like this was a conversation that women didn't have with men. I'd love to know like why women don't have it with women, or why it isn't like, I don't even, again, this is very ignorant of me, but I don't understand why there's any shame attached to it. What is it about it that is shameful?
Well, I can tell you one thing, because we live in a world where as women, we have been sold the ideology that we have to stay forever young. We have to stay forever 30.
Oh, damn.
Right? And look around. Look, you see what's happening to the faces and the people. We have to stay at all costs. We cannot age. We are only valuable when we are young and virile and forever 30, 35. And that's why we don't have the conversations, because we have bought into that and we don't want to get old either. So we're not going to talk about that with each other. Women are talking about how they can stay young, what they can do with their
procedures,
face, the procedures they can do, and how can you. That's what we're talking about, where we are also victims of this way of thinking. The goal should not be to stay forever 30. The goal should be to age gracefully, have the confidence to be able to do that, knowing that our real value lies within, not externally. Because we're fighting for external youth. Because the inside is doing what the inside is doing.
Welcome to a special part of the show, Best Drive Ever, which is brought to you today by Audi. Audi has taken a huge leap forward with their all-new, fully electric Audi Q6 e-tron, featuring effortless power, serious acceleration, and the most advanced tech of any Audi ever. You know, I remember my first electric car like it was yesterday. And it wasn't just any electric car. It was the Audi e-tron. Not the Q6, unluckily, but it was. And it wasn't just the e-tron, believe it or not. It was the very first one off the production line. I've loved cars. Like my whole entire life, I've loved cars. But my first electric car, that was something special. Because the e-tron wasn't just an electric car. You know, I remember stepping into that car. It felt like I was stepping into the future, a future that I'd always imagined. You know, it felt like a car the way I wanted a car to feel. It felt special. It was really designed well. It was beautiful looking. It had everything that was familiar to me. But there was an element of the future that was something beyond my mind. The hum of the engine was replaced by a quiet confidence. There was a seamless acceleration. The way the road felt different. It was smoother. It was more connected. Almost like the car was an extension of the journey itself. And when I was thinking about this experience, I was thinking about how my love for driving started long before that moment. As a kid, I was never in a rush to get anywhere. Because for me, the best part wasn't the destination. It literally was the drive. You know, I remember my mom taking us home from church. And instead of heading straight back, she'd take the long way. We'd weave through different neighborhoods. And we'd play this game where we'd guess who lived behind the walls and what their lives were like. Some streets were lined with jacaranda trees, their petals painting the road purple. Others stretched wide open, endless tarmac, leading to places unknown. I never wanted the ride to end because in those moments, the car wasn't just a way to get somewhere. It was a part of the experience itself. And I think that's what makes a truly great car. It doesn't just move you from A to B. It moves you. It makes the journey feel effortless. It turns silence into serenity and transforms motion into something meaningful. And when you're in a great car with great people, oh, that's when the real magic happens. You know, think about it. That's when you have the deepest conversations, the biggest laughs, the kind of moments that stay with you long after you've turned that ignition off. And that's exactly what the Audi Q6 e-tron is all about. Power, precision, and the kind of driving experience that reminds you why the road will always be a place of possibility. And then, when you're done with your road trip, the Q6 e-tron can come back to the real world with you as your everyday car. For instance, the fully electric Q6 e-tron features a new panoramic digital stage. Plus, you can add an optional screen for front seat passengers. So if you wanted to watch my specials or this podcast in there, you could. Just a suggestion. I mean, you could watch whatever you like. Experience powerful performance, smooth and refined driving dynamics, and a comfortable ride. You'll look and feel confident and in command of the road in this sporty, perfectly proportioned, and fully electric SUV. Learn more at AudiUSA.com. Always pay careful attention to the road and do not drive while distracted. You see, it's interesting that you say that. That's what I mean by reading up on your life and why I feel like chosen is a situation that you were in and you've accepted. Because when I look at the journey of Halle Berry, I've gone back to interviews that you did in like 1992, just like random moments with local newspapers. And it's amazing. No, it's really amazing to see how you were trying to pitch yourself as a serious actor, somebody who's in the game, as somebody who takes their craft seriously, and without fail, your beauty will always be put first before everything. And by the way, I'm not even like judging people because I know I'm part of them. I'm not like sitting here like I was like, I'm not going to be here like, no, you say Halle Berry and then I was like, hallelujah. You get what I'm saying? But it's such a strange thing because someone would go like, oh, but it's like a good problem. But I feel like you are the embodiment of that in a very specific way. And now you're using some of that experience to try and rally against the idea because you are the epitome of that. And you work in an industry where many actresses have said across the board, God forbid a wrinkle starts popping out the corner of your eye, out the corner of your mouth. And all of a sudden they're like, do you want to play someone's mom? And the roles dry up and everything disappears. Whereas like George Clooney, he's still the heartthrob. Him and Brad Pitt, let's do it, baby. No one's like, wait, they're how old? No, everyone's just like, George Clooney, Brad Pitt. Oh, yeah. But if like two women of the same age in Hollywood were trying to do that, someone would go, that's an interesting, what's like a mom's weekend movie?
Milf,
What is
a MILF movie?
I guess it's
a MILF movie.
Yeah.
Then we're MILFs. So cougars. We're cougars.
I'd love to know like how you've dealt with that because it can be hard. I can only assume to, on the one hand, have something that people see as an asset, and it is in some ways, but then also deal with the limitations that it comes with in allowing you to be your fullest self as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. And it has been, I feel like this is a very hard thing to say because, people often are, oh, poor you.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah.
You told you're pretty. Oh, God damn it. And I know that. So this is a hard thing to say, but it's something that, and I think I've said this recently, I have longed to hear somebody say anything else other than that. Anything else. You could call me, she's a, curse?
You can say anything
you can
you
say, she's a motherfucking bitch. I'd almost rather them say that at this point than just the same thing I've heard for 4 decades.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm more than this. And I feel like that's always so reductive. It's just reductive. I've worked hard to be a good actor. I work hard to be a good mother. I've worked hard at trying to be me. Yeah. And to just be reduced to, oh, she's pretty, is at 58. It's a hard pill to swallow these days. And so you're right. I think this cause has given me a platform to talk about something other than that. And if I have been known as that my whole life, I'm the perfect person to talk about.
That's exactly what I mean.
That's what you mean.
I was going to say,
I'm the perfect person to talk about this now.
Is that why you're claiming like probably the most unsexy, gruesome experience?
Yes.
No, it's true. Like
yes.
beyond the actual act of giving birth, which is very ugly. It's beautiful, but it's ugly if you see it up front. Menopause and this is just like, it's not something that most women would have the courage to claim publicly. And do you think you're trying to claim it for yourself in part because you want to get away from that perception of perfection and beauty?
And maybe I didn't choose it consciously, but like you said, Trevor, it's chosen me because I am the right person to talk about it, right? Because you would think someone like me I'd be the last one talking about it. But see, I've never, I don't ride on that beauty horse that people always want to put me on.
Yeah.
So I woke up one morning with this idea, I'm going to tell this story. When this happened to me, I had no trepidation about telling it, like none.
Was there anyone in your circle who was like, Halle, what are you doing? Like, surely there was someone, I can only imagine like the world of agents, managers, everything, because there is the idea of Halle Berry. I wonder if there was just anyone who was like, Halle, you can't, like, what are you doing? Surely there was a little doubt.
Maybe, but I always had the right answer. I would say to people that said, this is going to, this might level your career. And I said, I have been Black in this body and a woman my whole career. What's harder than that?
Damn.
So this doesn't scare me. I've always been behind the 8 ball, and I made it, and I'm still here, doing things on my own terms. So what's harder than that? Nothing.
Damn.
So no fear. Yeah. I'm used to it.
I was going to ask about the Black womanhood piece, because I think that like when you drill down, Black women and menopause and just like reproductive health in general is just a maze.
Yes.
And we're misdiagnosed and underdiagnosed. So what would you say?
And we're at greater risk. We suffer disproportionately.
Disproportionately. So what would you say to Black women specifically, especially those that maybe don't even have the tools and the vocabulary to understand what's happening with their body?
We have to start taking this into our own hands. Even these women in these rural states that don't have access to care, we have to lean in. We have to do our own education because we've got a while before the medical world catches up to where we are and can offer us really what we deserve. We're on the precipice of that right now. So we as women have to, one, realize it's happening. We have to start talking about it, that thing that nobody did. And we have to lean in and we have to do our own research. We have to question our doctors. If our doctors don't know about our bodies, guess what, ladies? Get a new doctor.
Yeah.
And, as women, we have a hard time doing that. We have a hard time standing up for ourselves, going to our male doctors that we've had for maybe 15, 20 years and saying, hey, bud, you don't know about my body. I'm out of here. These are the kinds of decisions we have to start making for ourselves because we deserve healthcare and we deserve doctors that understand what's happening. And not many do. So we have to search them out. And maybe sometimes you have to have a doctor that's in another state that you can connect with, that can guide you.
Yeah.
You might not be able just to go see your doctor that you always went to go see. You might have to look outside those boundaries and find a place where you can really get the information you need and be cared for. And we have to do it ourselves. And we can't keep our heads in the mud and think that it's going to skip me, because that's what I thought. No, ignorant, we cannot come from that place. We have to go do the work and start educating ourselves and make some tough choices.
I only realized how opaque this world was when, I saw you in Sweden. We were in Stockholm, right? And you were speaking and you were sharing like some of your experience. And I'll never forget how, like if you've never been to Sweden, like if you've never been to Scandinavia, understand something. The Scandinavians are the most put together, non-disruptive, polite people you will ever come across.
Oh, so polite.
Yeah, they're like, hey, you keep to yourself. Everyone does their own thing. You've all got your own house and let's keep it moving. Do you know what I mean? Like it's very, very, very polite society. And when Halle was speaking on stage, people like it was amazing because it was like watching the human body go through two conflicting emotions at the same time. On the one hand, you would see these Scandinavian women like stiffen up, like you shouldn't be saying this, but then their heads would turn like, tell me more, tell me more. And then afterwards we were having some conversations and one elderly woman came up to me and she says, yeah, that Halle Berry, quite a story to tell. I don't know if I would have told it the same way, but I'm glad she spoke. But that was quite intimate, because now we know she has a vagina. And I was like, but we should surely. But it was really amazing to see this because you would think, you say rural, you think. But it is amazing to see how pervasive a shame or like an idea can be. And
I'm like, did you not think I had a vagina?
But this is what it made me wonder. Like when I think of what the journey that you're on now, when I like intimacy gel, for instance, I love that it seems like you've taken something that was a kernel of an idea and you're growing it into like a forest of acknowledgement in a way because like. Intimacy gel, already people are just like, whoa, wait, lubricant, wait, what's happening here?
And she's getting great reviews, by the way. Tabitha Brown.
Yes.
Shout out to Tabitha Brown.
Tabitha.
So that's what I mean.
Gifts you just get from people.
But this is something that was, again, it has a different type of taboo, right? So if menopause is the taboo of, oh, my body's not working the way it's quote unquote supposed to work. And if I'm now aging and I'm quote unquote, I'm fading out or I'm aging out, this is another taboo. It's like, sex, like lubricant or like any of these things.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is such another taboo. So.
And it's my goal to change that.
Yes.
I want women to go in there and say, do you have Let's Spin? I need some Let's Spin. Do you have it? And feel no shame because sex does get better on the other side.
This is what I want to get into is if something is not improved, then it'll always remain bad. It might even get worse, right? And I couldn't help wonder, reading everything about the intimacy gel, I was like, how many people are not having sex anymore, not because they can't, but because they don't know how to.
Yes.
And then you're speaking about this. Like, why was sex as important in a way as like just the treating of the menopause itself? Because it seems like one is like a pleasure thing and the other one's like your body. So why sex?
Well, it's both. And first of all, I created a product that I most needed. Right. And I think whenever somebody introduces a product into the market or they're an entrepreneur and they have an idea for something, I find the most interesting companies to me are when they have founders that created something to fill a need that they have. Right. And that's how, you put your heart and your soul into it. And it's probably going to be a good product because they were trying to help themselves. Yeah. But by doing so, they help millions of other people. Right. So I was just trying to help myself get through this time thinking, what can I do? Yeah. So that I can continue doing that thing that makes me me, right? Because I just told you, I found my guy. I know,
you're having great sex.
Can't be the end of sex now. I'm like, God, this is a joke. I finally found him. So it really came out of a need to help myself.
Right.
But in doing so, I started to realize, I'm not the only woman suffering from this. This is a conversation that we all need to start having and it's not just pleasure. For men to stay connected to their optimal good health, they have to keep having sex. You guys have to keep having that thing, which is why you got the blue pill right away when it was a problem. Like, boom, right? Well, women are the same way. We have to keep having sex too. It's a part of staying healthy. It's a part of our systems that must operate like your systems operate, right? It's just we don't get thought of that way because you know what happens when men need to continue having sex? If their partner who's about their same age can't keep having sex, traditionally, nothing against my men because I love you guys.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Because what you guys do is you'll just go get another younger woman and keep doing the thing you need to do. Yeah. We cannot, right? If our system shuts down, we can't go get another man because we can't have it.
I think you could get someone younger.
Not if this ain't working. No, because he's going to want what he's going to want. So, no, I have to keep this working. Right. But because as women, we failed to keep it working, there have been so many divorces just for that reason. So many. I'll tell you a story. I have a friend who will remain nameless, but he came to me and he said, Halle, I'm going to get a divorce. And I've known him a long time. And I was like, but what? You love your wife. Like, what is happening? This was like 2 years ago. And he said, she just doesn't want me anymore. Like, I don't know what has happened. We were doing so good. I thought we were going to ride this thing out. I would go to her. I would try to touch her and she would pull away. And she's got someone else or something. She doesn't feel it for me anymore.
Damn.
And I just said, wow. And I couldn't believe it. And I was just formulating all of my ideas about what I'm doing now about menopause and how she might be feeling. And I said to him, this is going to sound crazy to you, but go home and start a conversation with her about perimenopause. And just start asking her how she's feeling down there. Is she feeling dry? Is she feeling headachy? Like, just go have a conversation. And I told him all the things to say. 2 weeks later, I see him again. He's like, oh my God, Halle, you were right. It's not that she didn't want me. She thought that every time I touched her, I was going to want sex. And she knew that was so painful for her. And she didn't want to feel that. And she was tired of faking it. She was tired of having it be so excruciating painful, but had to act like it wasn't hurting at all. Oh my God. And he was like, that's what it was all about. Yeah. Because she couldn't even talk to him to tell him that. Right? And so that's when I knew that, oh my God, this is an issue that we have to talk about and how intimately men are a part of this conversation and how many marriages have broken up because they were on the verge of a divorce. And once they could talk about this, now they're thriving again. She's been a part of Respin. She's got her Let's Spin. Yeah. She did her VFit, vaginal device.
Oh, tell me about the VFit.
What's another thing? It's like a red light therapy device, just like we do on our faces now for anti-aging and collagen building. That goes into the vagina and it rebuilds the vaginal walls. And it's like it can actually help thicken your walls again so that you have more elasticity in your vaginal walls when you're having intercourse.
This is so techie and futuristic.
This is a rock and roll world.
Oh my gosh,
I'm just a tech fan, so I'm.
You're like what?
I'm just like, Tell me more about how all of this works.
So, and how long
it's amazing.
How long do you put it up you? Is it daily? Like, what's the regimen?
You do it daily. Well, this is how it worked for me. I did it daily for about 3 weeks, and then after that, it's just maintenance. It's once a week or once every 2 weeks. You got that and your let spin, and you get some hormone replacement therapy, or you do some supplements that you like, and then you find out you can be back off to the races. Juicy as peach, all again. But you just have to know the things to do,
Right.
so that you don't become a desert. You have to just know, and when we know, we will do, right? So,
Don't go anywhere, because we got more What Now after this.
For like a woman at home who's maybe like in her early 70s, is it too late for her? Can she jump on this train and try the V-Fit and the gel and the hormone replacement therapy? Because sometimes it feels like the conversation is geared to 40s to like late 50s.
She can certainly jump into the V-Fit. She can do the Let's Spin. Hormones, that's something she'd have to talk to a menopause doctor about, to be sure, because I have heard that if you don't start the therapy early enough, that's when it can be an issue if you start too late in life. 70 may be too late. That's not what I should be answering today. I think that's what you need to go talk to a menopausal doctor about. So the message is actually we need
to women as early as possible be on this journey.
And start thinking about it at 35. At 35, because, our childbearing years are 25 to 35. And at 35, that's when the estrogen starts to leave, and we have to start realizing, okay, this peri is coming upon us. So at 35, I think we have to start talking to our doctors. If they're not talking to you, talk to them, get the right doctor, and start talking about it. What can I do so that I sail through to this moment, right? And that I don't suffer the way the women before me have suffered.
Before we lose you, I'd love to know how this journey has been informed by or has affected your professional / sort of life journey. And I know the two are connected, but I can't help but see all the links between them. Like Christiana and I will talk about all the time with, let's say, pregnancy or motherhood and how it clashes with the way we've built corporate life and companies. And you're in an industry that's unique, but at the same time isn't really in some ways. In that, if you're a woman in Hollywood, if you're a woman in certain jobs, how you look, how you're perceived, how you're seen affects your ability to work or not work. And I'd love to know, how have you navigated a world that has told you don't hold as much value when you're building up all these other different facets of yourself that do hold value? Because there's a moment before Respin where Halle Berry is, as you said, you found another thing, and this is your second act. But I'd love to know how you were navigating that experience, because it can be a scary one for people in all walks of life. I just think Hollywood gets all the shine, but I think many people will experience that where they go, oh, I didn't know what to do once my kids left for college. I'd always identified as a mom, and I was raising these kids, and now they're gone. And I just realized now my career as a mom is sort of over in that way. Or someone goes, oh, I've now gone back to the office, and my career is this. Or I've left the office, and I'm struggling with the way the world has now changed its perception of me. I'd love to know how you navigated it, what you experienced, and what you learned, and if you learned something from this part of it that's sort of helped you, or if it was part of the reason that Respin started.
It's certainly part of the reason that Respin started. I struggled to understand what this company was. I knew it was always respinning everything we thought we knew, but I didn't have a there. I didn't have the real purpose of what the there was. And when I realized that menopause needs the biggest respin of all, then I realized, oh, that's why I've been building this company. Even when I didn't know why really, I figured out why, which lets me know that it was happening, to me and for me, because I didn't really have it thought out, but yet I was building something, which is why I know it's chosen me. I just had to get caught up to it, right? Yeah. But it chose me clearly.
Was there a part of you that was afraid, though, that you were, because you're building this thing, but there's also this other world that you're an Oscar-winning actress. Let's never forget that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You're an Oscar-winning actress. History-making, Oscar-winning actress. So it's not even, it's not like, oh yeah, you act. And it's not like you're a good actress. No. You can't get high. It's a gold medal at the Olympics. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? So I wonder, how much fear was attached to that, and how are you dealing with that? Yes, you're making Respin, but before that, you're letting go in some ways of something, and you don't know what that journey will or won't be. And so I think a lot of people would be served by knowing, just how did Halle Berry figure out what for many people is a really tough time in their lives before you find the next thing.
But I think this goes back to the thing I said earlier, and that is being born a Black woman. I feel like I have always felt like I sat at the bottom of society.
Damn.
Right? White man, Black man, white woman, Black woman.
Huh.
So I've always felt at the bottom. Never feeling like I was defeated because I was at the bottom. Never feeling like I couldn't dream big because I was at the bottom. Never feeling like I wasn't worthy or capable because I was at the bottom. But I always have known that I'm going to have to work 10 times harder than everybody else to get anywhere. Just to get a step up from the bottom, I'm going to have to work harder than a white man or a white woman or a Black man. I'm going to have to work that much harder because we sit at the bottom. And so that feeling, I think, has been what has propelled me my whole life. I've never been afraid of hard work. I've always known that anything was possible if I decide that it's so. I've always known my worth and my value, even when I've been struggling and I've been afraid, because I knew what my core values were all about. I had a 5th grade teacher. Her name is Yvonne Sim. She's a beautiful Black woman that took me under her wing when I was 10 years old. And everything that makes me me is her, that she took the time to pour into me. And you know how I knew I was valuable? Because this teacher who didn't have to take time, she wasn't my mother, she didn't bring me into the world, she didn't owe me, but because this beautiful, smart, wise woman took me under her wing and invested in me, she poured that into me, and that gave me value. I knew I must be special. I must be of value. If this woman would take her time every day after school to pour into me, pour into me, pour into me, pour into me. And that's what I've carried. I've known that worth and that value from a very young age.
That's beautiful.
And I haven't allowed people to dim my light, even when I've gone through shit. And we know the things I've gone through. Many of them have been public. I'm going through shit right now. I don't care. It's just things that you go through, you grow through, you learn. That's why we're here, right? But I've always just known I have value here and I have a purpose. So finding Respin and finding this cause of menopause is like, oh, another one of my purposes. Like winning that Oscar that time. I was chosen to do that too, to open that door. I knew it was bigger than me, right? I hope this year someone stands next to me this year. I hope it happens because I'm tired of occupying that space alone.
Right.
I hope this is the year, right? But even if it's not, I was chosen in that moment to be a beacon of possibility, right? And I do think it served that purpose. And I think I'm sitting in this moment also talking about menopause and telling my own story and being bald and bold. It's also to be a beacon of possibility as where we can go as women and what we deserve, and knowing that we're more than this shell, right? That we are complicated, we are beautiful, we are strong, we deserve a second act, we deserve all things good. We've raised our children, we sacrificed our bodies, right? We've given what we have to give. I can't believe we live in a world that now says, we got nothing for you. Sorry. I don't believe that. Right? But I know we have to change that for ourselves. And I realize this is my second act purpose, to help change that narrative. That's my purpose.
It's amazing. The teacher poured into you, and I feel like you're now pouring into everybody else.
Yeah.
And you poured into us. This was more fun than I could have expected.
I'm so happy to be here.
This is so
I
much
wish you
fun.
could stay
Thank you.
longer.
I know.
You'll come back.
I will come back.
You'll come back. There'll be more Respin. I can see it. It's gonna
I want the
infinite.
supplements. That's what I'm ready
It's
for.
infinite.
That's the next thing we're doing.
See?
We're working on
the
it.
supplements.
I knew it. It's infinite.
We're
It's
working on it.
Okay, great.
All things,
great.
yeah.
It's going to be. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for sharing. Thank you for pouring your hearts out. Thank you. Thank you for being you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Too.